Okay, the game is Nieuport 1600. This is the, well, it's early in turn 2. Last thing to happen is Fera here successfully preempted Bucquoy here. But then when Fera was done, he failed his continuation. So he is done. And then we go back to the bypassed leader. Bucquoy here. And we'll pick up with his formation activation. Okay, I think the way to look at this is we pick up Bucquoy's activation with his step B order change. Yeah. And he's definitely going to try to change his order. So he has a charge order over here. But there is no, let's see, there is no, oh, that's not true. This is the, so his musketeers here are disordered. But other than the disordered musketeers who have this shaken enemy cavalry, shaken enemy cavalry adjacent, other than that, there's no enemy nearby. And he has, 3 units shaken. He's got 1 that is broken back here. So it just makes sense to try to change his order. Well, I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to continue with his activation, but maybe this is the time where you get let's see, adjacent or stacked, yeah. So I think if the army commander were adjacent, he could add his, I think he could add his army commander modifier there, but I'm not going to do that this time. But I think maybe that's an idea of how to do it. All right, change orders. He has charge. He wants to go to rally. He wants to go to rally because then all units may attempt to rally, but a unit already adjacent to an enemy unit like this one can still fire. So from charge to rally is 5 or less. 5 or less. Bucquoy has a 0 for command rating. The commander is not adjacent to an unbroken enemy. It's not a cavalry wing changing to charge. It's not a cavalry wing changing to march. Okay, here we go. -2 if changing to rally. That's us here. When more than half of the units of the wing are shaken, morale broken, or eliminated. So that counts. So altogether he has, I don't know if you count the tercio as 2 or not. I don't know about that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and of 6, 4 are shaken or broken. So, and actually we throw in the eliminated unit as well. So we definitely have that. So -2, which helps us get to rally. Basically the wing is so beat up. Oh wow, still, we rolled as high as possible. So he does not get it. He needed, I think it's 7 or less. He did not get it, so he is still under a charge order, which is not good, because that means that all units must end movement closer to the closest enemy unit. Now that would not include the shaken units, because they have movement 0. Well, I guess this is going to make it kind of easy. The closest unit to this cavalry is this one here, so they'll move there. He's starting adjacent, so I guess that's it. And because his charge order, no unit can attempt to rally. So the musketeers they're disordered. So they have a movement allowance of 2, which is enough to fire. And that's it. So the musketeers, they don't, I don't think I'm not sure any of this type of combat's mandatory. Maybe I'll check that later, but he doesn't have to fire, but I'm still going to have him fire on the Dutch arquebusiers mounted there. The shaken arquebusiers, they can fire defensively, so they can fire afterwards, just at a -2 penalty. So let's review the mandatories. A wing commander must always be stacked with a unit of his wing. He can move separately, but he has to end that movement in a hex with another unit of his wing. Broken units must conduct route movement during that phase, during the route phase. To move in combat normally, a unit must be in command. Ooh, I need to pay attention to command. To be in command, a unit must be able to trace a line of command to its wing commander. An out-of-command unit must move in order to be in command. A leader or commander must remain with the unit with which he is stacked if it advances after close combat or engages in retreat or route movement. That commander must always finish his move stacked with a unit. You have to roll for leader loss in close combat. For close combat or fire combat, you have to roll for leader loss. Charge order, a unit under charge orders must end one hex closer to the closest enemy unit. Under a charge order, a commander must move with a unit of his wing. Oh, that's something to remember. Oh, that is something to remember. I did not notice that fine point. It looks like when a commander has a charge order, he must move with a unit of his wing. He cannot do that separate move. If he wants to move separately, he needs to go to a march or rally order first. Under a march or rally order, a commander may move unless he is helping a unit to rally. Okay. I think that is a fine distinction that I missed. Units must face a vertex. The movement of one unit must end before the movement of another begins. During movement, a unit must respect stacking limits. So I guess stacking limits are always in effect. Withdrawal. When a unit is doing withdrawal as reaction movement, it must finish its movement farther away from the enemy unit that is prompting the reaction movement. Let's see, movement and rotating. Okay. We'll go over that now. The manga. I haven't talked about this, and here's a good example. These musketeers have the same name, Z and Avila, as Zapena and Avila. This tercio, they go together. This manga of musketeers belongs to this tercio. So I haven't talked about this. I don't think I've talked about this yet, but M units represent mobile musketeer mangas that can act at a certain distance from their tercio. An M unit can act differently than the double unit of its tercio. It must, however, remain 2 hexes or fewer from its double unit. If it is no longer in this range, it must move in order to be so, unless it is adjacent to an enemy unit. Okay. As soon as that's no longer the case, the M unit must move back to within 2 hex range of its tercio. If a hex is hit by fire, each unit in that hex must make its own morale test. If a unit must retreat but cannot because of stacking limits, it must consult the unable to retreat table. The lead unit in close combat must advance. Oh, this is important. Must advance after combat if possible. Disordered and shaken units that must retreat maintain their facing. A unit that breaks must retreat 2 hexes and then change facing away from the enemy towards its friendly side of the board. That unit does not apply the other normal retreat rules or results. Basically, its broken status takes over. As a priority, a unit must retreat towards its map edge, or if it cannot, in a hex free of a unit. So a free hex. Artillery is eliminated if it must retreat. So if the defender retreats or is eliminated, the attacker must advance to into the liberated hex. I need to remember that one too. And finally, it pays. Yeah, the route phase. Doing route movement, a unit still pays for facing changes and must keep its back to the enemy. Alright, the action here. So Bucquoy is done with his first activation, and he is going to try to continue so that he can change his order again. But to really keep this to keep this as full play, I'm going to have Temple back here. I'm sorry, I was first thinking about Temple, but then I changed to Solms. Solms here. I'm going to have him. So Solms' command is here with the cavalry here. Whoops. So I'm going to have Solms try to preempt Bucquoy's continuation. So we'll see what happens. So Bucquoy successfully rolled to continue. So he was successful here, but Solms rolled a 9, which is way too high, and so Solms failed in his preemption attempt, which means that he is marked no continuation, like that. And then Bucquoy has his activation, and obviously the first thing he's going to do is try to change that order, which he should. I mean, he has a very good chance. It's 7 or less. And he rolled an 8. So he failed again, which means that there's going to, well, I guess I'll just do it real quickly, because none of those guys are moving. So I think the nearest, so here's the cavalry. Nearest enemy is here, 1, 2, 3. So I think to move 1 for change facing, 1, 2, it makes him closer to the nearest enemy. And then the musketeers are going to try to fire, and then the Dutch are going to do reaction fire or defensive fire. I want to show this case. So the musketeers roll just enough to hit. So that means that the difference is 0. So the target has to do a morale check with the difference, which is 0. They have a current morale of 5, minus 2 for being shaken is 3, and they roll well over that, which means that they fail their morale test, which means that they are now broken and will they will pull back now.